Why narcissists experience love in reverse, the hidden stage no one sees. The deepest reason you can never love the abuse out of a narcissist is not because your love is insufficient, but because your love itself activates their darkest defenses. Psychologists who specialize in narcissistic personality dynamics explain that intimacy, which normally fosters safety and bonding, triggers a threat response in narcissistic individuals. From childhood, most of us are conditioned to believe that closeness builds trust, that patience dissolves walls, and that compassion softens even the hardest hearts. We grow up learning that if we love deeply enough, gently enough, consistently enough, eventually someone will feel safe enough to love us back. But with a narcissist, this logic collapses entirely. Emotional closeness does not feel comforting to them. It feels invasive. Your affection, your empathy, your emotional presence are not received as care, but as pressure. As you lean in, they feel suffocated. As you bond, they experience engulfment. What you interpret as connection, they experience as loss of control. And for a narcissist, loss of control is experienced as psychological danger. Trauma psychologists explain that this reaction is rooted in early attachment wounds, where closeness became associated not with safety, but with vulnerability, shame, or emotional annihilation. The closer someone gets, the more exposed they feel. So while you are opening your heart, they are bracing for psychological attack. This is why narcissists do not withdraw because you failed to love them enough. They withdraw because you got too close. You saw too much. You touched places within them that they desperately work to keep hidden. Your love does not feel like freedom. It feels like a cage they must escape. And when that internal alarm is triggered, it often releases not fear but hostility. Their nervous system shifts into defense, and defense for a narcissist frequently looks like coldness, cruelty, withdrawal, or punishment. To understand this dynamic, psychologists emphasize that we must view the relationship through the narcissist's emotional framework, an unsettling place shaped by fragility, shame, and terror of exposure. Survivors often replay the relationship endlessly, searching for the moment everything went wrong, asking themselves when the narcissist stopped loving them. But this question itself is rooted in a misunderstanding. The emotional timeline of a narcissist runs in the opposite direction of yours. Where your love deepens with time, theirs deteriorates. Where your attachment grows stronger, theirs grows weaker. Understanding this reversal is essential for healing, because it dismantles the painful belief that you caused the collapse. The first psychological shift occurs at the very foundation of the relationship, during what appears to be the most magical stage: love bombing. Clinicians explain that narcissists do not fall in love with a person. They fall in love with an image. In those early days, when their gaze felt intoxicating and their attention felt consuming, they were not seeing you as a complex, evolving human being. They were capturing a snapshot. In that snapshot, you were smiling, attentive, accommodating, admiring, emotionally available, and most importantly, undemanding. You exist as a two-dimensional reflection of their greatness. Psychologists describe this as objectification. The partner becomes a mirror, a prop, a role in the narcissist's internal fantasy narrative. You are cast as the perfect lover, the rescuer, the trophy, the proof of their superiority. During this phase, their devotion feels intoxicating because it is intense, relentless, and immersive. But what they are attached to is not you, it is how you make them feel. As long as you remain inside that frozen image, as long as you maintain emotional simplicity and unwavering admiration, they appear loving. But human beings cannot live inside a snapshot. Real life demands complexity. You get tired, you get sad, you struggle, you disagree, you need reassurance, you become real. And this is where the collapse begins. To a healthy person, vulnerability deepens connection. When your partner cries, struggles, or expresses fear, it awakens empathy, protectiveness, and emotional bonding. Psychologists call this secure attachment. The nervous system interprets vulnerability as closeness. But in a narcissist, vulnerability triggers contempt. When you reveal your humanity, you shatter their fantasy. They feel deceived, not because you lied, but because their illusion has been broken. Their internal dialogue shifts into accusation. This isn't what I signed up for. This isn't the perfect reflection I was promised. They interpret your pain not as a cry for comfort, but as a breach of contract. You were supposed to stay flawless. You were supposed to stay easy. You were supposed to exist for their emotional regulation, not require any in return. Psychologists explain that this reaction stems from deep emotional immaturity and unresolved shame. When confronted with another person's vulnerability, the narcissist is forced to confront their own emotional limitations. Rather than experiencing empathy, they experience exposure. And exposure feels intolerable. This is why they often respond to tears with coldness, irritation, or disgust. They are not confused. They are repelled. To them, the object is malfunctioning by behaving like a person. This leads into the most critical and misunderstood phase of narcissistic relationships, the assessment stage. This is the invisible bridge between love bombing and devaluation, and it usually occurs the first time you forgive them after they hurt you. Psychologists emphasize that this moment is pivotal because it silently determines the entire future of the relationship. The narcissist tests your boundaries through subtle harm, ignoring your messages, making a cruel remark, flirting openly, or withdrawing affection. To you, it feels painful but manageable. And because you are empathetic, because you've been conditioned to believe in patience and understanding, you respond with forgiveness. You explain away their behavior. You rationalize their cruelty. You extend compassion. You try to reassure them. You think love means staying. But inside their mind, something very different is happening. While you are bonding, they are evaluating. Psychologists describe this as dominance calibration. They study how much mistreatment you will tolerate. They observe whether you hold boundaries or collapse into self-blame. And when they see forgiveness in the face of harm, they do not interpret it as love. They interpret it as weakness. Their internal narrative becomes chillingly simple. I disrespected them, and they stayed. I hurt them, and they apologized. This means I have power. This is the psychological switch most survivors never see. Your compassion does not awaken their conscience. It extinguishes their respect. In the narcissistic worldview, respect is tied to dominance, not morality. If you tolerate mistreatment, they conclude that you have no self-worth. And paradoxically, they despise you for the very selflessness they unconsciously sought. Psychologists describe this contradiction as narcissistic contempt. They crave unconditional love, yet punish those who offer it. This moment marks the transition into devaluation. You have proven that you will not leave. And by proving your loyalty, you have unknowingly signaled that you are safe to exploit. Their nervous system relaxes not into intimacy, but into entitlement. They realize they can extract emotional supply without effort, empathy, or accountability. Abuse escalates because consequence disappears. What once required charm now requires nothing. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, love bombing dissolves into criticism, withdrawal, emotional starvation, and psychological control. Understanding this progression is not meant to induce despair. It is meant to restore clarity. Psychologists emphasize that healing begins when survivors stop interpreting narcissistic abuse as personal failure and begin seeing it as systemic dysfunction. You did not love wrong. You loved deeply, honestly, and humanly. The tragedy is that your love was offered to someone who experiences closeness as danger, vulnerability as threat, and empathy as weakness. Recovery, therefore, requires not self-blame but reorientation. Trauma specialists encourage survivors to rebuild boundaries, reconnect with their internal sense of worth, and gradually rewire the belief that love must be earned through endurance. Therapy focused on attachment trauma, emotional regulation, and self-compassion can help untangle the deep conditioning that taught you to stay where pain lived. Because real love does not punish vulnerability. Real love does not demand self-erasure. And real intimacy does not require suffering as proof of devotion. When you finally understand this, something profound happens. The narrative shifts. You stop asking, "Why wasn't I enough?" and begin asking, "Why was I trained to believe I had to be perfect to deserve love?" And in that question, your healing truly begins. Psychologists remind us that when you exit a narcissistic relationship, you are not simply grieving the loss of a partner, you are grieving the collapse of an entire emotional reality. You are mourning the dream you were sold, the future you envisioned, and the version of yourself that believed love could save another person. This grief is complex because it is layered with trauma, confusion, and shattered identity. Trauma researchers describe this state as traumatic bonding withdrawal. Your nervous system is detoxing from an addictive cycle of hope, pain, reward, and fear. The highs of love bombing and the lows of devaluation create biochemical dependency, flooding the brain with dopamine and cortisol in unpredictable waves. When the cycle ends, your body doesn't interpret it as freedom. It interprets it as danger. This is why survivors often feel panic, longing, and obsessive rumination long after the relationship is over. It is not weakness. It is neurobiology. In this stage, many victims struggle with an overwhelming urge to understand. You replay conversations, analyze texts, re-examine memories, and search desperately for clarity. Psychologists explain that this cognitive looping is the brain's attempt to regain control after prolonged psychological chaos. When reality has been distorted through gaslighting, the mind becomes obsessed with reconstructing truth. But this search often leads back into self-blame. You begin wondering if you were too emotional, too needy, too sensitive, too forgiving. Yet trauma specialists emphasize that these thoughts are not insight. They are residue. They are echoes of the narcissist's voice implanted inside your psyche. Part of healing is learning to recognize which thoughts belong to you and which were conditioned into you through manipulation. This is why rebuilding boundaries becomes one of the most critical stages of recovery. Not just boundaries with others, but boundaries with your own mind. Therapists often guide survivors through cognitive restructuring, helping them interrupt self-critical narratives and replace them with reality-based truths. You did not imagine the cruelty. You did not exaggerate the pain. You were not too much. You were in a system designed to exhaust you. Establishing emotional boundaries means learning when to stop engaging with intrusive thoughts, when to redirect attention, and when to offer yourself compassion instead of interrogation. This is how the nervous system slowly learns that safety now exists. Another major challenge during healing is confronting the grief of unmet needs. Many survivors realize that what they were truly longing for was not the narcissist, but the version of themselves that existed before the erosion began. Psychologists describe this as identity mourning. In narcissistic relationships, victims often shrink, silence themselves, abandon dreams, and suppress emotions to maintain harmony. Over time, the self becomes fragmented. Recovery requires reintegration, reclaiming lost parts, reconnecting with forgotten passions, and rediscovering personal agency. This process is deeply emotional because it forces you to confront how much of yourself you sacrificed in the name of love. Therapists often encourage survivors to approach this stage with curiosity rather than judgment. Who were you before you learned to walk on eggshells? What did joy feel like before it became dangerous? What dreams did you postpone, minimize, or abandon? These questions are not meant to reopen wounds, but to gently guide you back to yourself. Psychologically, this process strengthens what is known as self-coherence, the alignment between your inner experience and outer expression. As self-coherence returns, anxiety decreases, clarity increases, and emotional stability slowly rebuilds. One of the most profound shifts that occurs during recovery is the transformation of empathy. Survivors often fear that healing will make them colder, harder, or less compassionate. But psychologists emphasize the opposite. Healing refines empathy. Instead of indiscriminate giving, you develop discernment. You learn to recognize where your energy is honored and where it is exploited. Your compassion becomes rooted in wisdom rather than self-sacrifice. This is not emotional shutdown. This is emotional maturity. You begin to understand that love without boundaries is not love. It is abandonment of self. Over time, survivors also begin to recognize the deeper tragedy of narcissism itself. Without excusing abuse, many develop an understanding of the psychological prison narcissists inhabit. Clinicians describe narcissistic personality structures as built upon profound shame, emotional deprivation, and identity fragmentation. The narcissist lives in constant fear of exposure, rejection, and annihilation. Their cruelty is not power, it is panic. Their manipulation is not confidence, it is terror of being seen. While this understanding does not excuse the harm they cause, it allows survivors to release the illusion that the narcissist ever possessed what they were seeking: real love, emotional safety, or genuine connection. This realization often brings an unexpected wave of grief, not for the relationship, but for the person the narcissist could never become. And in that grief, something powerful happens. You stop chasing closure. You stop seeking validation. You stop waiting for apologies that will never come. Psychologists describe this as emotional emancipation, the moment when your healing no longer depends on their acknowledgement. Closure becomes internal. Peace becomes self-generated. Freedom becomes embodied. Eventually, survivors reach a stage where they no longer define themselves by what they endured, but by what they have become. Trauma specialists call this post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where suffering, when properly processed, produces greater emotional intelligence, resilience, and self-awareness. Survivors often develop heightened intuition, deeper empathy, stronger boundaries, and a profound appreciation for authenticity. The pain does not disappear, but it transforms. It becomes wisdom. It becomes discernment. It becomes a compass that guides future relationships. And this is the final truth that narcissistic relationships inadvertently reveal. You were never weak. You were capable of extraordinary love. You were willing to give, to forgive, to understand, and to stay. Those qualities were exploited, not invalidated. Now, reclaimed and protected, they become your greatest strength. You no longer offer your heart as a sacrifice. You offer it as a gift, freely, wisely, and selectively. So as you move forward, remember this: you are not healing to become who you were before. You are healing to become who you were always meant to be: grounded, self-respecting, emotionally sovereign, and deeply alive. You are stepping out of survival and into selfhood. You are leaving behind illusion and choosing reality. And in that choice, you are not losing love. You are finally learning what love truly is. And as we close this chapter together, I want you to pause for just a moment and notice what stirred inside you. If any part of this message helped you feel seen, understood, or less alone, don't let that awareness fade. Let it become the beginning of your deeper healing. If this content resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may be silently struggling. Your support doesn't just grow this channel. It spreads clarity, validation, and hope to those who desperately need it. Every single share has the power to interrupt someone's cycle of confusion and bring them closer to freedom. And if you're ready to keep walking this path of understanding, recovery, and emotional empowerment, stay with us. More insights, tools, and guidance are coming to help you rebuild your strength, restore your self-worth, and reclaim your peace. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for choosing healing. Until next time, protect your energy, honor your truth, and remember, your story is far from over.